It is officially spooky season, and this week I want to do something just a little bit spooky. So a few weeks ago I made this guy on the channel and had such a fun time doing it. Miniature making is just chef's kiss, 10 out of 10 activity, and I want to do more of it. So in honor of Halloween, I thought we could make a slightly bigger project with lots of spooky little details and also use up something that's a little bit scary in my house. A part of being a DIYer is that you need to collect materials, and materials can be expensive, so when you find them in the wild, it can be hard to throw them away. Enter what my husband loves to call my treasures. This is a pile of stuff that I have moved from at least 2 different places because it's good crafting material. Why would I waste it? I don't want to throw that out. What if I need it one day? So, to sort of work down this giant craft pile I have made, I am going to be attempting to make this miniature witch hut out of only things that are already in my house. The numerous craft supplies, all of the materials I have squirreled away like the little rat that I am, and hopefully make this for $0. Well, $0 more. Some of these things did cost money originally, but not this week. We're working down that scary craft pile and making a little scary miniature. Okay, so the plan is have no plan at all. But to do that, we have to have some sort of steps. I think the first thing I'm gonna do is build this up into a room, floor, walls, windows, and then from there I can get to the decorating. I'm kind of treating this like I would a real house. When you arrive to a house, there would be walls and things for you to decorate, and then you build upon the space. So we're first gonna build the space, and then we're gonna build all the things, and then it's really just 2 steps. Make room, put furniture in. Deceptively simple, because both those steps have like 10,000 little steps you want to include. Step 1 is go through the pile, see what I have to work with in terms of building materials, because again, I want a floor and at least 2 walls to kind of give like corner of the room diorama look. And then once I have the basic structure, we can put a flooring in and do a wall treatment today, and then I can leave that to dry overnight and we can start working on all of the furnishing tomorrow. So let's start sourcing some materials from our scary rat pile. Step 1 of any haul is unboxing. I may regret this. Okay, we have a lot of foam, we have a lot of cardboard, we have some good plastic pieces, some weird things like this metal tube. Don't know where I got that. I think because I have so much cardboard, I'm gonna make the basic structure out of that. And then from there, I can glue on, I know I have popsicle sticks hanging around from the miniature bookshelf. Do that for the flooring, and then maybe make a textured paint for the wall. I think that's a good place to start. I'm gonna grab what I think is my best cardboard, maybe even this box, because I've got a good amount of it. And it feels like a little bit more sturdy than like the corrugated cardboard. This is more like, I don't know, there's probably a term for it, thick, not full of holes. Chipboard? I don't know. I can use this as my base and this box once I get it out of there. It kind of looks like a camper van. It's fine. Good morning, everybody. It is the next day. I am quite happy with the progress we made yesterday. The walls have a really nice texture to them. They're all painted up. I did do a few more coats of paint off camera just because I'm still using my cheap craft paints and they are not the most opaque in the world, but we've got good coverage now. They're ready for some detailing. The floors do look great. I'm really happy with the uneven floorboards and the color of everything. The only thing I want to change is I want to add a little bit of a satin finish to them, just because I think floors look a little bit better when there's a little bit of sheen to them. That's how you would seal them. Is it super accurate? I don't know, it's a witch hut. What is accurate? So I'm just gonna tape off the walls, put a quick coat of a spray, like satin sealer on it, and then we can start working on some of the bigger pieces. So after thinking overnight, I have a couple of things I really want to put in here. Number one, I want a big fireplace where we can have a big cauldron kind of bubbling over. The second big piece I want is I want to do like some tables, one against the wall right in front of the window, maybe with like a water basin, kind of like a sink, not really, but like sort of like a sink. And then a big work table in the middle where we can put a bunch of stuff all over it. I also think a shelf running across the wall with the door and the window all along the top will be really pretty, and we can add a bunch of little details to it. So those are the big pieces I want to get done today. That way tomorrow, all that's left is the quote unquote like furnishings, the decor. The window and the door we should get done today too. We have a lot to do, but it is the weekend, so I have all day to just play around with miniatures and craft something fun.
So because I had so much to tackle today, I decided to start with some of the smaller things to get them out of the way and also give them some time to dry. The window was super easy. I just used this old lasagna lid, cut a rectangle slightly larger than my opening, and then used some leftover glass paint from my stained glass clock to add some leaded diamond patterns. Next, I used the door cutout as a template to cut some planks out of leftover balsa wood from my miniature bookshelf. I tried to pick pieces that intentionally had little knots in it to give it a more weathered effect. I spent a little bit of time distressing the wood so that there was a bit more of a grain pattern to it, as well as accentuating those knots. And to make sure it didn't look like new wood, I mixed together a bit of paint and water and washed it over the whole thing to give it a good weathered coloring. To make the hinges, I cut some little pieces of black cardstock and added a layer of UV resin to give them some more dimension. And to really sell the effect and make them look a little more metallic, I hit them with a little bit of silver rub and buff. Look how cute they all look together! As I was test fitting the door, I was looking at the walls and they were looking really yellow, like butter yellow. So I had an old black wash that I had made ages ago and used it to darken the walls and make it a little bit more desaturated. Constructing the fireplace was definitely more of a freeform activity. I started by sketching out the basic shape of what I was thinking, which is a bottom cubby for logs, a large fireplace area, and a curved top chimney. From there, I just started cutting the pieces and fitting them together in the room. Everything was held together with super glue, and I realized that my sewing clips actually made perfect tiny clamps to help keep everything together while it dried. Once the fireplace was all built, I could place it in the space and I could use it to size the wall shelf accordingly. The tiny braces on the bottom were just slightly wonky triangles that I glued to the bottom, and honestly, for how simple this was, it made a big impact on this little room. Next, I used more of that balsa wood to build the cabinet and the table. The cabinet was much easier to build than the bookshelf I did in my last miniature video because I didn't need to make the doors functional, so I was able to build a box with legs and then glue some fake doors onto the front. And then tiny push pins made for some very easy handles. The table was also quick because it's basically 4 planks glued together with 4 legs stuck on straight enough. I love building miniature furniture because it does not need to be nearly as perfect as building regular furniture. If my table's a little bit wonky here, no one is going to be bothered by it, but if my dining room table in my house is wonky, that would drive me insane. Lastly, to finish out my day, I added some textured paint and a little bit of green into the window so that when it dries, it's not as see-through and looks a little bit more like aged glass.
I'm really hoping you cannot hear the woodcutters that are outside my house. They've been going all morning and I need to film, so sorry if I can't edit that out. We did get a lot of progress done yesterday. Not as much as I would have hoped for, but isn't that always the case, it seems? I got most of my structures done. So the fireplace is all mapped out. It needs to get all of its stone detailing on it because the black isn't really it. My table and my little, I'm gonna call it a cabinet. It's not really a cabinet, but my little cabinet box are both made. They just need to be stained. And then also my little shelf is done. It needs to be stained as well, and then I can attach it to the wall. And lastly, our little stained glass leaded window is all dry. It needs a frame and then it can be attached to the wall. There's still a lot to do. Once I have all of those base pieces done, the stones and the staining and everything, I can then start working on all the little things. There's a lot I want to do because I think this is great as is, but what's really going to make it come to life is all of the little details, all the little like trinkets and things on the tabletops. So there's a lot of work to be done there, but they're all small. So how long can they take?
I had a leftover can of stain that I used in this room for the makeover. Since all of these pieces are wood, it's as easy as slapping it all on and letting it dry.
Okay, for the fireplace, I could go ahead and use some foam like I have in the past. Like this wall back here is just foam that's been textured and painted. But what I think is actually going to be a faster and easier material to use is an egg carton. I had one in my bag of stuff that's from 2020. So we're finally gonna use it today. When you look at the inside of most egg cartons, at least the papery ones they have here, they have this really good texture that already looks like stone. So all you have to do is rip these into like stone shapes, stick them on, dry brush them, and then you now have a stone fireplace. So I'm gonna rip a bunch of these into rocks, and then we can attach everything to the fireplace and do our paint job.
I did start by trying to rip a bunch of rock shapes, but I ultimately decided it would be faster and easier to just rip up the rocks as I went. To stick them down, I used a bunch of Mod Podge. You kind of want to saturate the egg carton because then it becomes a little bit moldable and it lets you shape the edges, but still retains that rock-like texture. Unsurprisingly, this took way longer than I thought. I was hoping this would be like a 30-minute task, but it ended up being more like a 2.5-hour task, so, you know, that was fun. But it is hard to argue with the results. The plus side of these stones taking so long is that all my wood pieces are now dry, so I was able to glue the window, the cabinet, and the shelf into place. Since I was running so behind in this project, I thought a good old to-do list would be an easy way to keep my ADHD brain on task, and I wrote down everything that I still wanted to do for it. It was a lot of things. To end my day and get something checked off of this very long list, I decided to build the door handle by using some scrap wood, some wire, and a little chainmail ring.
It is the next day. I did not finish everything I wanted to, but that's because I watched both Dancing with the Stars and the Blue Jays game last night. Both of which were very fun, but not very productive for our lovely little miniature. Because I want to get this video done by Halloween, I have made a to-do list. It is unfortunately a little bit longer than I thought it might be, but also somewhat shorter than I thought it would be. I've tried to break it down into every little baby step that I can, so that way we feel like we're making a lot of progress today. I think it's doable if we like really lock in. It's possible, we gotta work real hard.
The biggest task on my list was to paint the fireplace. At this point, I have a pretty foolproof method of painting stone. Step 1, paint everything a medium gray. Step 2, use a dark wash to cover all the shadows. Step 3, dry brush using medium and light grays to add highlights and dimension to the stone. It's not a hard method, but it is a little bit annoying because it requires every step to be fully dried before moving on to the next one. Otherwise, you'll end up smudging everything and it will look bad. Trust me. Next, I worked on all the wood elements I had left. For the fireplace and the wood pile, I sourced a stick from the outside and cut it into log shapes. For the pile and the nook, I just used some super glue to stick them all together in a pleasing shape, and the fire was glued together and painted black to make them look like they've been burnt. The last of the wood pieces were the cutting board and the knife. The cutting board is just a piece of balsa wood, shaped and colored with some stain, and the knife is a piece of wood with a little bit of cardstock covered in rubber and buff. I then spent way too long making this tiny leather-covered journal. I folded and glued tiny pages together with little drawings on each of them and used real leather that I had in my stash to make a tiny cover.
I am almost certainly gonna drink about 4 more sips of this coffee and then let it get cold on my table. A little check-in. We have made excellent progress on our list. The main things left are all of my clay pieces, as well as the witch hat, broom, and some hanging herbs. The clay stuff, I'm avoiding. Not because sculpting with clay is hard, I just am very mediocre at it, and I feel like it's gonna take me a minute, and I'm gonna get frustrated, and they're just gonna end up looking how they're looking. But in other news, in my stash of stuff to make resin dice with, because I was doing that for a while, a friend of mine had printed me a bunch of tiny animals, and I found these little baby frogs. They're so itty bitty bitty. So I'm gonna paint a few of those up. But that crosses frog off of my list. So far it's looking really good. I just need to keep adding more stuff because right now there's not enough stuff.
First on that list was to make the witch's broom. I used some wire that I twisted together to look like wood and some string that I cut to size and unraveled to make the bottom part. After it was secured, I quickly spray painted it brown, which I did at night so I didn't film it. Next, I had this small miniature kit that I bought and missed a return window on, so I decided to upcycle it to be a little bit more witchy. The glasses got tiny corks so they could be vials, and the alcohol bottle got a tiny potion label. This kit also came with an ice bucket that I thought could be a perfect bubbling cauldron. With a little clay, paint, and some alcohol inks to dye the ice, we had a very convincing cauldron. Lastly, I had to tackle all of the clay pieces. I can't really explain what I did besides shape the clay into tiny lumps and paint them. But I ended up making a bunch of mushrooms, some garlic, a mortar and pestle, a bowl, a pitcher, and a sleeping cat. With all of these pieces finally done, I think it's time to put everything together and head over to the reveal.
I really should have considered where I was going to put this when I was building it, because this wall should definitely be on that side. There really isn't a good spot for this to go on my bookshelf now because of it. It is what it is, I'm not changing it. Slight construction issue aside, I love how this turned out. It looks so good. All the little details turned out so cute and adorable. I love all my little frogs who are just hanging out. The one problem, I didn't use that much of my craft pile, unfortunately. It is still very large, and there's a lot of things that are gonna go back into garbage bags and in my basement. I'd love to make more miniatures. I think it's a great way to use up some of it. Even though we didn't make a huge dent, I think that's more a problem with how big the pile is rather than how effective these are at using up the materials. So, if you have other miniature ideas, let me know, because I am 1000% making more. It's just a matter of when and of what. If you enjoyed hanging out this week and watching me make this little miniature room, make sure you like and comment. It really, really helps YouTube figure out where to send this video off to so that more people can come and enjoy the content. Also, thank you for all of your comments on my video last week. They were very useful tips in there about how I can maybe figure out how to use all that fabric. So when I finally stop hating sewing again and I decide to use that fabric, I can definitely implement those and hopefully have a less stressful time. I am also still trying to get to 500 subscribers, which may get here way faster than I ever thought possible, because 50 of you subscribed last week and that's kind of crazy. But we are still 50 away, and every single new subscriber helps us get there just a little bit faster. And with that, I'll see you guys next time.